Take two. You won't know this, but this is my second race today. Unfortunately, the first race went very well. It was my third highest ranking points race ever, 130 something, which has moved me up to 750 in the world from 850, something like that. Which has been a bit of a target recently, is my ranking on Zwift Power, and getting in the top 1,000 was a target for sort of February, March, and I managed that, and 850 now 750. So it was a great race. I came 11th. I didn't have an aero, power up. There was big com. It was wandering flats in Macquarie Island, so it's largely flat. There is quite a substantial com for a course with flat in the title, and I got a pit first or second actually. But actually, it's quite a lot of people hung on, despite, I think it was I had 5.6 watts per kilo for 5 minutes, which was the most in the race. Hence, I guess why I was at the front going up the comp. But a lot of people hung on and managed to get back on the descent towards the finish. And then there was a sprint. I didn't have an aero. An 11th. 11th's fine. At the time, I was a bit disappointed, but actually, when I saw that the ranking points were high, and obviously, therefore, it was a strong race. There's 50 odd A races, so I guess there's quite a lot of decent riders there. A lot of Japanese riders. A Japanese focused race. So actually, I had a video just like this. I might put a little bit of that in editing, but I forgot to press record on the game capture. So here we are, second race, tired legs, been back to work for a couple of hours, it's now the evening. We'll see if I've got any recovery. Funny enough, we're going up the leg snapper. First time I've raced up the leg snapper, I'm looking forward to it. Sort of climb that suits me, but maybe not after I've already done a hard race with a climb in it as well. So, not expecting too much. This one effectively just makes today a training session. It's this or intervals, and who wants to do intervals? We'll see how we get on. I'll carry on setting up. I will get Zwift going, and I will try and record this time. I'll show you my pain cave while I'm at it. So, this is my bike on the turbo. Let me turn that round, that's really hard to see. So, about to get going. We've got a mini air conditioner which goes out the door into the living room, and the fan. I don't know if it comes across on camera, but that's a 55-inch TV, which is very nice. Connected to a gaming PC down there, and an emergency inhaler just in case, because I do have asthma. A rear fan, literally pointing at my backside. Wahoo kicker core, and nice carbon fibre S-Works tarmac. My outdoor race bike. Also in here, there's more in the garage, mostly mountain bikes, but also in here we got my commuting bike, which is a Specialized Cirrus. It's actually a hybrid bike, but I've converted it to a drop handlebar bike. And also in here at the moment is my kind of pride and joy, very old school steel 1994 orange P7, restored during the pandemic. Original Manitou forks, Murgura brakes. God, that bike was out on that in the week. None of them have got pedals on, because I use my Favreau Duos on all my bikes. Anyway, I better get on and warm up. Thought that might be interesting. So the race we're doing, Evo CC Race Series. I've done one of these before, it was a long time ago. Innsbruckring, never done the Innsbruckring in a race. We got the leg snap, I think, twice. I kind of fancy it. I wish I hadn't done a race earlier. Well, I'm glad I did do a race earlier because actually got some ranking points. But just this race in isolation, I'd love to be doing it with fresh legs. We'll see how it goes. Probably famous last words, but the leg snapper should suit me. I've always thought the leg snapper should suit me. It's very similar to the real life climbs around where I live. Short, steep. I've done well on them. I've trained on them for years, I suppose. It's right in my sort of wheelhouse, as the Americans would say. Sort of 1 minute efforts. I'm light. I'm powerful for a minute. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I don't know how much separation the leg snapper creates. If it creates a good bit of separation, then I might get away with a strong group, and that could be good because I'd love a reduced bunch sprint. I mean, my ideal race would be smash a bit of power on the two leg snappers, get away with a group, reduced bunch sprint of climbers. I've got a good sprint for a small person. That would be ideal. We'll see how it goes. I mean, you don't get your ideal, do you? Plus, as I say, second race. Three, two, one, and we're off. Who's the Wahoo guy? My name is. I don't know you yet. Hello though. Good to have a teammate. I'm new to Wahoo Cole, for those who don't know. So I don't know everyone yet. My one experience with riding with a teammate so far didn't go well. Because I paced to him. It was actually in a race a bit like this. A short hill in it. Well, several. It was the cobble climbs of Richmond. And I paced to him. And he got dropped. And he dropped out of the race. I was like, oh. Okay. So, yeah. Unless you know who you're riding with, you got to agree tactics. I think just ignore it. So this time, I'll have a chat with this guy afterwards maybe. But as for the race, oh, I've got an arrow. Oh God, I'll struggle to get arrows. So I'm probably now going to hold it the whole bloody race. Number of times I've been let down by a lack of an arrow. I know with the leg snapper that's a bold move, but it's first or nothing, right? Or podium or nothing anyway. So if we get dropped, we get dropped, but if we don't, we've got an arrow. Be willing to lose to win. That's what they say, right? A bit like not chasing this guy off the front. We're approaching the leg snapper here. I'm slightly distracted. You can see me on the phone, texting my Wahoo Cole teammate that I've just quickly made friends with, discussing tactics. He pointed out that he had a feather and was considering launching an attack, and I mentioned I had an aero that I planned to keep till the end, and he asked if I wanted him to hold off from attacking, but I actually said to him, no, let's see if we can reduce this bunch. I don't want to sprint against everybody. And there we go. So he's fired his feather and gone off like a shot. I'm briefly over 700 watts, over 600, now over 500, back 6, 7, all the way up. It was a hell of a climb. It was good fun though. It's really nice putting down that much power. And as you can see, yeah, the two of us reached the top of this climb together. He's dragged me through. You can see from the map that it's nicely stretched out. Everybody's having a hard time. We don't shake off a huge number of people. It actually comes back. At this point I was quite excited. I thought we'd got down to a really small group at the front here. But several more get back across as we come down and into these little up kicker here. More of these red dots come back than I thought might, which is disappointing. If you look on the leaderboard, there's a lot 3 seconds behind at this point. We could have been away in a 4 or a 5. Unfortunately, that doesn't remain the case. We're not pushing on enough, I guess, and it all comes back together. Well, we've dropped a few, but the strong guys, as the race progresses, it proves, are still all here. The pro who is in this race is still here, and we head on down to the sprint and on around. There's no real attack on this sprint. I know sometimes sprints go off. I was talking to Eric of Don't Get Dropped Cycling on one of his leg snapper videos yesterday, and he said that the sprints often go down. Sorry, the attacks often go down at this sprint, but didn't happen here. We'll come back to attacks later in the video. I said in the intro I thought we went up the leg snapper twice, and that was because Zwift Power seemed to suggest that was the case, but I think I had the exact route slightly wrong. We go up it 3 times. This is the second of them. You remember that myself and my teammate led up the first time, and you see him shooting off again this time. There's actually a guy out front. He's been out front for most of the lap, but been hanging out on his own. We're back 600, nearly 700, over 700 watts again here. This actually was marginally faster on Strava. This was 44 seconds this time, marginally more power, marginally faster. But still, I'm surprised quite how many of this group hung together. In fact, the whole group, if you look at the map there, is basically in a line, and I don't think we drop anyone, maybe one. But the vast majority of people, even though 2-3 seconds behind on the leaderboard there, they all get back on, I guess working a little bit harder on the downhill than us. We're in a super tuck here, out the front, but at 182 heart rate, I need some recovery. A few people shoot off here, but otherwise we are largely together going through this section, and we go again through the sprint with nobody really attacking, not in a major way anyway, and we're all back together. So I make a huge mistake here. The breakaway starts right now. There was one guy up front 5 seconds ahead. I wasn't worried about him on his own, that's normal, and then they get brought back. But what happened there was this pro, Jay Schultz, sprinted across to him, and this other chap, Mori Madrana, started to go too, and I just didn't commit. I half committed, but these guys are sprinting across the gap. I really hoped that people would work together. Instead, people kept flying past at 7 watts per kilo. And I needed to be doing that. I shouldn't have been sitting at 5. I needed to be going across in a sprint. I thought the group would work hard enough to bring them back, but at this point, too many people have gone. They're not coming back. I sit in the pack thinking, yeah, this, people are working here. People are working. We'll catch them. And then this chap goes again, the guy in the pink, and I think, no, this is probably my last chance. But it's already too late. I've done hard work, but not hard enough work. They're there, but I didn't go. I didn't sprint. I'm still doing 6 watts per kilo. I've dangled. I'm now dangling in the gap. This other guy is sprinting. You saw his orange numbers there of 7-8 watts per kilo. I needed to do that. I probably had it. I had that. I was at below 180. I'll sprint off that at the end of the race. So I could have sprinted off there, but I thought I could make it. At this point, I'm realising I'm stuck in a gap. I'm on my own now. The other guy made it across, and I've sat up. So I sit back to an easier level and rejoin the group behind. And unfortunately, that's the last I see of the front group. I'll carry it on. We've got one more leg snapper to go, but I'll be taking part in the second group now, having let them go. So let's move forward and we'll see that. Before we get to the leg slapper, the last time actually, you'll see a message here from my teammate, Hail Mary incoming. I didn't exactly know what he meant. I sent him a message back saying, where, on the hill? And before he had time to respond, I found out exactly what he meant. He didn't mean on the hill. He launches here with his aero. He told me earlier he had an aero which he was keeping for a sprint finish. I thought about going with him, and then I thought, no, actually, it's not fair to drag these guys across. Unfortunately, he didn't tell me what he wanted to do. I didn't know if he was trying to go alone and drop this group, or whether he wanted to get some impetus in the group to try and catch the group in front. I decided not to chase on and to sit on the back instead, and see if he could get away. Unfortunately, he doesn't. And actually, for a second, I thought I was going to get dropped, but actually, it all came back together, and that was the end of that. So, good effort, but to no avail, and this comes back together. Final time up, the leg snapper then. I wasn't sure how hard it was going to be. We've had two hard efforts up here, but the group wasn't motivated this time. We knew we were the second group. You could see the first group has stretched out a 42-second lead over us. So this is the second group, and the 600-700 watts of the first two times up become 400, 500, even 300 watts here. There's still a bit of effort. Still want to hang together, and as people push and you don't want to get dropped, there's a need for a few spikes of power. Once again, myself and my teammate leading over the top, but yeah, much easier. I think it was about 10 seconds slower than the first two times, and as a result, the heart rate doesn't even breach 180 before we start descending here. It remained pacey all the way to the line. There's the guy, Kroon, takes up the pace for most of the lead into the line. I thought maybe he didn't have a sprint and was trying to get away. So he does a bit of work for us, but generally this is now going to be a sort of 4-5 up sprint for the line. Although at this point, my teammate, I think, decides soon anyway that he's had enough, and he doesn't join in for the sprint. So about 4 of us from this group go to the line for the sprint, and we'll head off there now. Final sprint then, got the aero, had it the whole way round. Kroon comes back through. I wasn't too worried about him. I didn't think he'd have much of a sprint with the amount of work he'd done, but he really caught me unawares there, put in a massive dig, and by the time I had hit my aero, he was gone. I actually hit a good, I think it was 968 peak, and held it over 700 all the way, but there's some good sprinters in this one actually. That wasn't enough. I came over third over the line in this group. I look very confused here. This is because I'm showing as 30. I can't see it behind the picture there. But I think it was 36. I then realised that's because the other categories had a shorter version of this race, and so they're listed up above. 8th, once I filter on A. 7th
once you take that off to Zwift Power. So one of these people isn't on Zwift Power, not entirely. Can't remember exactly who it is, but yeah, 7th on Zwift Power. Not actually any ranking points out of this, given that on Zwift Power I was the second A. So my 7th place included 5 A pluses. There's only 1 A went in that front breakaway. Obviously, I didn't know that at the time, but that front breakaway was made up almost entirely of A pluses. Bizarrely, I think it was the A that won it. So yeah, I was second A, which is a pretty good result, but no ranking points. The ranking points from the afternoon race when I finished 11th, better than the ranking points from this race where I finished 7th, even though it felt like quite a strong field. Yeah, so that's the end of the race. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe. I really need some subscribers to build a base here. I really appreciate the extra views I'm getting. I'd love it if you guys would consider subscribing. I want to keep making these videos. I enjoy the racing. I enjoy the videos. It was starting to grow now, but it's slow and steady at the start of a YouTube channel. So yeah, any likes, any comments, any subscriptions, massively, massively appreciated. But for now, until the next one, thank you very much and goodbye.